Welcome, everybody. This is the Storyteller's Ass. I'm Dan Yashinsky. This is Eysele, my ass, and we're bubbling together, and we tell folk tales. I really like old-time folk tales, and so does Eysele, right? Eysele, you like those too. And Eysele has long ears, right? Why? Because Eysele likes to listen to long stories, and that's what we're doing today. Now, yeah? Oh, yeah, what? What are you staring at? Was my hat? Well, you're wearing a pink hat too. Yeah, because you know what the story's called. It's called the Ass with the Pink Hat. That's what the story's called. And you're in the story. You always like to be in the story, don't you? I say, yeah. So you're wearing a pink hat. You look very nice. By the way, it's even got a little feather thingy or whatever. And I'm wearing a pink hat. And guess what? This was my mother's hat. So I'm wearing it and I'm remembering my mom. Palomba used to wear this hat. I didn't wear it too often. Yeah, what do you want to say? Yeah, I have to lift my hat so you can see. Oh, I look like an escaped flower. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Even though the story's called the Ass with the Pink Hat, I'm going to let you wear the hat. I'm going to take this off, all right? And now I'm going to take it off, right? Taking off my pink hat, my mom's pink hat. Yep. And so I can tell the story. But now you're staring at my hair, right? Yeah, okay. So I looked like a flower before, and now okay, now I look like a bush. All right, fine. Well, you look very nice, Eysele. So here's the story. It's a man goes around with his ass, and he sold hats. That's what he did. He went around all from village to village to village. He said, hats for sale. And his ass had a pink hat too. And everybody used to say, oh, here comes the man who has the ass with the pink hat. So you're in the story. You're the star of the story. It's pretty exciting. Yeah, you like to be the star. Who doesn't nowadays? And so the man would travel from village to village. Hats for sale, and his ass. And people would come and buy the hats. Now, his ass wore a pink hat, and the man wore many, many hats on top of his head. He had some on his donkey, and he had some on his head. Big stack of hats. A big stack of hats. That's actually hard to say. You want to try saying it? A big stack of hats. And he was coming down the road, hats for sale, hats for sale. One day he got tired, comes up to a tree, and his ass was chewing the grass. You like that part, yeah? Yeah. And the man fell asleep underneath the tree, and he still had all the hats on top of his head. But what he didn't notice was it was a monkey tree, and the tree was filled with monkeys. The monkeys were up in the tree. He didn't even notice, and he was sleeping under the tree. And while he was sleeping, the monkeys came down the tree, and they took his hats. All of them except one. I guess he had a pink hat on too. And they didn't take that one, but they took all the other ones. And when the man woke up, he feels the top of his head. Guess what? All of his hats were gone, except the one that his ass was wearing, the pink hat, and his own pink hat was on his head. But all the others were gone, and he couldn't figure it out. He looks around. Someone must have stolen him. He looks up into the tree, and what do you think he sees? Eysele. He sees all the monkeys wearing his hats. Oh, and they were going around with hats this way, hats that way, just really looking very nice, wearing his hats. And this man was so angry. He and his ass came up to the tree. He shook his fist at the monkeys. And what did the donkey do? What did his ass do? Shook its hoof. And the monkeys, you know what they say? Monkey see, monkey do. And when they saw the man and his ass shaking, they also began to shake their paws at the man and his donkey. And that made him even angrier. What did he do? He stamped his foot. And the monkeys, they stamped their feet. And then he took his hat and he threw it to the ground. And what did the monkeys do? Monkey see, monkey do. So they took their hats and down come the hats from the tree. The monkeys threw the hats down, and he picked them up and he put them on his head. And he and his donkey looked up at the tree. Yeah. And they continued on their way, hats for sale, hats for sale. And every village they went to, people said, here comes the man with the ass wearing the pink hat. Hats for sale. Many people bought the hats. He made a lot of money. Yeah, that's a nice part of the story. Hey, yeah, he made a lot of money selling his hats. He comes home one day, says to his son, look, I have to tell you what happened, and it's unbelievable. Tells him the whole story. I went to sleep under a tree. It was a monkey tree. The monkey stole my hats. But don't worry. If this ever happens to you, here's what you do. Listen to your father. You shake your fist. They shake their fist. Stamp your foot. Tells them the whole story. Throw the hat. They get your hats. And that's the way you get your hats back. So even if you go to sleep under a monkey tree, don't worry about it. Listen to what your father's telling you. Yes, Daddy. Yes, Daddy. And he did. And one day he became a hat seller. Now, his donkey, it was the same donkey, went out with him one day. Such a beautiful donkey. Yeah, just really nice, long, pink ears. They were very good friends. And so the son is walking along, comes along. Hats for sale. Sells a bunch of hats, but he still has a big stack of hats on his head. A big stack of hats. It's hard to say. Anyway, stack of hats. A big stack of hats. Comes along. Hats for sale. He gets tired. He goes to sleep under a tree. Donkey's over there grazing, eating the grass and the hay. That's a nice part of my story. Under that tree, he's sleeping, but he didn't notice that in the tree were monkeys. Many, many monkeys. It was a monkey tree. And while he was sleeping, what do you think happened? Same as before. All the monkeys come down, steal his hats, except for one that he had on his head. And he wakes up. Looks around, no hats on his head except just the one, and his donkey still had the pink hat. Yeah, monkeys aren't going to mess with a donkey. No way. No. Especially a tough donkey. So it sees the monkeys up there. They're wearing his hats. They're rocking around, swinging from tree to tree, branch to branch. Oh, he's angry. And then he remembers what his father had told him, and he's not angry anymore. He knows exactly what to do. He remembered the story his father told him. It's always good to remember the stories your father, mother, grandparents tell you. You got to have a good head, a good cup for stories, Eysele. A good head for stories. That's what happened. So, but he pretended to be angry. He made his fist, and the donkey took its paw. Shake his fist. Donkeys and the monkeys are shaking their fists. Monkeys are shaking, but not the donkey. The monkeys are on the tree shaking their fists, taking their fist. Stamps his foot. Monkeys stamp their feet. He takes the hat, shows them the hat, throws it to the ground. And what do you think happens? Yeah, what do you think happens? Yeah, nothing. The monkeys are still up there with their hats, which were his hats, swinging and styling those hats, and they look pretty nice. Nice hats, too. Yeah, almost as nice as your pink hat. By the way, that's a beautiful pink hat. Yeah, who made it? I know I did. I was just testing to see if you know. Yeah, I made your hat. That's very nice. Very beautiful hat. Wear it in good health, by the way. Yeah, So nothing happens. The monkeys are up in the tree. They still have his hats. The man, he doesn't know what to do. He picks up the hat. He throws it to the ground again. The monkeys watching. Nothing happens. They're just wearing his hats. But one of the monkeys comes swinging down a little bit lower, just out of reach, wearing a particularly nice hat from the man. And the young monkey says, wearing his hat, "Hey, mister, our fathers told us stories too." He never got the hats back. No, that's the end of the story. What's the moral of my story, Eysele? Yeah. Always travel with a donkey that has a nice pink hat. Yeah, that's a nice moral. But it also says, listen to the stories that your father, your mother, your grandparents tell you, because if you remember those stories, they'll help you when you run into trouble in this world of ours. Eh? Okay. So say goodbye. That's a short story tonight. And we both hope you're doing well. I hope you're bubbling with a nice ass too, because that makes all the difference in the world. You're my favorite fellow bubbler. What do we say? Co-bubbler nowadays. We need a new word because we're in a pandemic. You're my favorite co-bubbler, Eysele. Yeah. And what did you want to say? Oh yeah. And you wanted to say I should get a haircut. Well, thank you very much. And I really like your pink hat. And that's the name of the story we're going to call it. Sometimes it's called the man who sold hats, or the hat seller, and the monkeys. Lots of different names told all around the world. But we're going to call it, because of Eysele here, we're going to call it The Ass Who Wore the Pink Hat. So thank you very much for listening. And did you say goodbye, Eysele? Okay. Stay safe, everybody, and keep bubbling with your own ass too. Okay. Goodbye.